Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm rebinding the complete edition of Steins and I'm happy to finally bring you this highly anticipated tutorial. We are breaking it down into two parts. The first will walk you through every step of the binding process itself, and the second will unveil the creative process behind the designing the HTV, also called heat transfer vinyls. Quick side fact, this book right here played a major role in pushing me into the world of rebinding. There's this exclusive hardcover edition from Barnes and Noble, an exclusive from Udon Entertainment, and living in Europe meant zero access for me, so I thought let's craft my own version. Fast forward through a bunch of binding adventures, here we are, finally making it happen. Anyway, let's kick things off with the binding process. Firstly, the method I'm rolling with here doesn't involve tearing off the cover entirely. That means no need to reinforce the spine with gauze or anything like that, eliminating the risk of the manga falling apart if the spine isn't glued down perfectly. It's crucial to remove the original end papers, but tread carefully while doing so to avoid damaging the text block itself. The goal is to avoid having to rip off additional sides. Personally, I often trim some of the excess glue, but caution is key to prevent cutting into the text block or cover, as I've learned from experience. After snipping off the end papers from the front and back covers, leave about 2 centimeters from the spine. Following that, make another cut approximately 5 centimeters from both of the top and bottom edges. Since manga covers are usually laminated, the paper and glue won't stick to them easily, so we create some space for the end papers to stick on later. So you could use sandpaper for the little spot which we left over, but honestly it's usually not necessary. This time around I'm using some of Huke's artwork for the end papers. First things first, measure the width and height of the text block. It might sound a bit crazy, but sometimes the front or back isn't as big as the other, so I usually measure both sides to avoid messing up the end papers. Start by marking the midpoint of the end paper and follow from there. Then when cutting, start with the width, leaving about 1 mm extra to be safe. Once you're sure, cut off the excess. Decide which side you want more from, the top and bottom. Cut as close to the artwork as possible, and then trim the other part down to the length of the text block and plus 1 mm again, and then just trim the excess when you're sure that it's not too short. And for the end papers, I typically go with 100 GSM glossy paper for regular sized books and 120 GSM for thicker ones like this. And for books like the colossal editions from AOT, I might even go up to 160 to 180 GSM, so it holds on the text block. If you did everything correctly, it should fit just perfectly like this. Since I'm a bit more experienced with that, I just do a fast forward version here because I did it so many times, so I usually don't mess up anymore. There we go. Once both end papers are the right size, glue them down. Put them on the text block, ensuring they're not upside down. For that, label them with F for front and B for back, for example, and mark the side you'll be applying the glue to. For the glue, I usually go with about half a centimeter and not too much, as less is often better. Align everything carefully, throw Berserk Deluxe Edition or something as heavy on it and leave it for about 30 minutes or more. Now on to cutting the cardboards. I use 2mm thick cardboards for regular sized manga and omnibuses, and for colossal sized ones I'd recommend 3mm at least. And also here measure carefully, ensuring the cardboard doesn't end up too wide or too narrow. Creating gaps on the book is crucial so the cardboard can move outward. For width I go with the text block size, and for length I add 3mm on top and on the bottom. For this project it is going to be around 14.5 centimeters, and for the width and for the length it's gonna be 21.5 centimeters. Check if the cardboards match the text block. Cut now the spine with a width of the spine plus 1 cardboard thickness. In this case the spine width is 4 centimeters and the thickness of the cardboard 2 millimeters, so 4 plus 0.2 is a total 4.2 centimeters. Now let's move on the cloth. I don't measure it precisely, just cut generously and trim the excess later. Place the cardboards on the cloth, trying to center them. Mark the top on and bottom corners for the first cardboard, then align the rest based on the first one, using tools like that, which you can order on Etsy or get it from a local 3D printer, just like I did, or just create some yourself with cardboards. That's what I did in the beginning of binding history as well. Now after you glued down the boards on the bookcloth, you use your bone folder and make a neat gap between the boards. Now cut all sides down to about 2 centimeters, and for corners use a tool or add a 2 mm thick leftover cardboard like in the picture I blend in. Now glue down all sides, starting with the top and bottom. Don't use too much glue, fold the corners before gluing the sides, and it's time for the press. If you don't have a press, just use heavier objects or create one yourself as well. I'll put the link for the tutorial in my description. If you want neat gaps, add 0.5 centimeter thick sticks between the pressing boards. These ones you can also just create yourself with cardboards as well. And after pressing, measure the book again to ensure the design fits later on. Now we are on to cutting and weeding the HTV. That's actually one of my favorite parts of bookbinding. It's very satisfying, but also sometimes very stressing. For getting the HTV on the book, I recommend using a heat press instead of an iron, since the heat is not evenly distributed and can cause a lot of bad mood, trust me there. Also, for transferring the HTV, I recommend to use a towel underneath to absorb heat, preventing cardboards from warping. And then afterwards just pull the HTV off when cold or hot as per instructions, because there's some HTV which you have to like pull off while it's hot, and some when it's cold. Like on this one it said it has to be cold, but I couldn't wait and pulled it too early, so don't make these kind of mistakes. Also at this point, massive thanks for the support and the growing community. We've hit like 350 plus subs already, and I'm grateful for the exchange of ideas on Discord. I hope this tutorial has been useful and has addressed many of your questions. If there's anything I missed or if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. But also alternatively hop onto our Discord community and shoot your questions there. I'm always around to help and share the insights, of course. And yeah, you can also reach out on my Instagram. Finally, the last step, casing the text block in. Ensure it's centered, use some paper between the end papers and be generous but not excessive with the glue. Use also a bone folder to remove the excess glue, and at the end add some baking paper between the end papers and press it again for a clean finish. This time I used the end parts of my pressing boards where I have some skewers attached. With that the gaps look very neat. I blend in the picture how it looks like when it's pressed. And there you have it, the end result. I was very happy that I used actually bronze metallic HTV this time, and how it fits the black and the gear motif. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next video, which will be the unveiling of the creative process behind the heat transfer vinyl. So stay tuned.